A slow-motion shot of Captain Ibrahim Traoré walking through a crowd of supporters. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is not just a name, he's a movement, an unexpected, defiant political force, who's shaking the very foundations of leadership in the Sahel region, across Africa, and increasingly, around the world. The 36-year-old military officer, turned revolutionary president of Burkina Faso has turned heads globally since seizing power in 2022. But who is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and why has his rise stirred so much hope and controversy? In the turbulent political theater of West Africa, Burkina Faso has seen more than its share of instability. The landlocked nation has faced repeated droughts, chronic poverty, and a series of military coups. And in 2022, the country went through 2 coups in just 1 year. The first coup in early 2022 brought Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba to power, but just months later, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, then just 36 years, and a group of his fellow officers decided Damiba had lost direction. On September 30, 2022, they overthrew him. It was a bold move. Some called it reckless. Others called it destiny. Burkina Faso, formerly Upper Volta under French colonial rule, gained independence in 1960, but for decades, its political freedom was undermined by external interference and internal dysfunction. France maintained significant influence, especially over the country's rich mineral sector. Gold, zinc, copper, phosphate, and limestone flow from Burkina Faso's soil, but little of the wealth stayed in the country. French corporations and interests dominated extraction. By the time Captain Ibrahim Traoré came to power, more than 1.6 million people had been displaced by terrorism, and the military was severely under-equipped despite French promises. Something had to change. Captain Ibrahim Traoré wasted no time. One of his first moves, breaking ties with France. Anti-French sentiment was surging across the Sahel, and in Burkina Faso, it exploded. In dramatic fashion, Captain Ibrahim Traoré ordered French troops out of the country. The message was clear: Burkina Faso would no longer serve foreign interests at the expense of its own people. He began renegotiating mining contracts, nationalizing to gold mines previously controlled by foreign firms, and launched the country's own state-owned mining company. Now, contrary to some social media rumors, Burkina Faso hasn't paid off all its debt and still hosts foreign companies from Canada, Russia, and Australia. But Captain Ibrahim Traoré's reforms are real and bold. With over 60% of the population under 25, Captain Ibrahim Traoré made youth empowerment a central pillar of his agenda. His administration rejuvenated the cashew industry, employing over 1,300 people, most of them women and youth. He's also provided farming equipment and pushed for agricultural self-sufficiency. 2 tomato processing plants have opened under his leadership, cutting reliance on imported tomato paste. And in early 2025, Burkina Faso launched its first fully electric vehicle, the Traore, designed and assembled by local engineers. There are also unverified but widely circulated reports that Captain Ibrahim Traoré cut top officials' salaries by, unlike most African leaders, Traoré has refused IMF and World Bank loans institutions, many accused of trapping countries in debt through harsh conditions. Burkina Faso, along with Mali and Niger, withdrew from ECOWAS, the West African regional bloc, accusing it of being a puppet of Western powers. Instead, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has looked east to BRICS, an emerging coalition of nations seeking to rival Western economic dominance. With Russia's support, Burkina Faso may seek membership in this new economic order. Many compare Captain Ibrahim Traoré to Thomas Sankara, the legendary revolutionary who ruled Burkina Faso in the 1980s. Like Sankara, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is young, military-trained, anti-imperialist, and people-centered. Sankara renamed the country Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, and wrote its national anthem himself. But Sankara was assassinated in 1987, many believe by external forces, threatened by his radical vision. Captain Ibrahim Traoré now walks the same tightrope. However, not all is glowing. Human Rights Watch and other international bodies report disturbing trends under Captain Ibrahim Traoré's government. At least 3 journalists were detained in 2025 for covering alleged government abuses. More than a dozen foreign news outlets have been banned. Critics say press freedom is under siege. Worse still, independent investigations accuse the army of massacres over 130 civilians killed in one reported incident in early 2025. Other reports allege complicity or inaction in terrorist attacks. One woman told investigators, "They came into our houses. We heard our husbands screaming before they were shot." Other accounts describe soldiers arriving in army trucks, welcomed at first, only to unleash gunfire moments later. And while Captain Ibrahim Traoré claims to control the country, half of Burkina Faso remains under the grip of jihadist insurgents. Some 2 million citizens have fled their homes to fight back. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has turned to Russian, not just for military support but also for political and economic backing. Critics argue that replacing French influence with Russian influence is trading one master for another. But Captain Ibrahim Traoré insists it's about self-interest, not ideology. Russia, too, sees opportunity, especially through BRICS and its new development bank, which offers loans without the strict conditions of Western institutions. Originally, elections were scheduled for July 2024, but Captain Ibrahim Traoré postponed them, citing insecurity. In March 2025, he extended the transition until 2029. Supporters say it's necessary. There can be no democracy without security, but others argue that military leaders rarely step down willingly. Observers warn that even the most revolutionary leaders often fall into the trap of clinging to power. The hope that Captain Ibrahim Traoré will be different, that he'll hand over to civilians when the time is right. Despite all the complexities, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has become a symbol, a figure of defiance, pride, and reform for many across the continent. He's proven that Africa does not have to follow the same old script, that it can reject exploitative aid, reclaim its resources, and forge its own destiny. But whether he becomes the new Sankara or repeats the mistakes of so many before him remains to be seen. One thing is certain, the world is watching Burkina Faso, and Africa is listening. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's story is still being written. Will he be remembered as a savior or as a cautionary tale? Is Captain Ibrahim Traoré the future of African leadership? Should elections come sooner? Can a coup-born leader build lasting peace? If this story sparked something in you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories from across the world. Bye, Africa Lights.